So, good morning and welcome. We are on Vibe Talk Facing the Lion. Welcome. If you can hear me, could you do me a favor? Could you let me know that you can hear me? We are working with brand new devices. So I want you to be able to get the best sound quality as we are facing our lions together. Won't you join me? We're saying good morning to you from Southern California, and I am your host, Nisi. Welcome to our program as we talk about Wednesday Wellness. Won't you join us? Wednesday Wellness, in joining us in helping you and I to be able to face our lions. We are here today as we continue to help you to help yourself. As I mentioned before, we are Vibe Talk Facing the Lion. Welcome to the program. Our Wednesday Wellness is filled with welling yourself, getting well, being well, and staying well. How many of you would like to get well? Is there anyone out there that wants? I apologize to those of you who are viewing us. We're having a little technical difficulty, but it's nothing that we cannot straighten out. So bear with me as I get it together. We're on live. And Vibe Talk Facing the Lion can now be heard on AMP, A-M-P. And they've been advertising that a lot, so we thought we'd give it a try. And if you want, we'd be happy to have you follow us there. We'd be happy to have you. And so as we are coming together to discuss our Wednesday Wellness, what about fight or flight? How many of you are dealing with stressful situations and you are feeling fight or flight? We're going to be talking about that as you come into the program. We want to say thank you for all of you who are joining us. We appreciate you more than you know. Thank you to everyone who relies on Vibe Talk each morning. We'll be right back. Welcome. We are back. Our Wednesday Wellness is all about your getting and being well. We are here with you. We thank you for joining us on the Vibe Talk. And so here we are. What is it to fight or flight? We're going to talk about that. We're going to really talk about that today. And there we are. Fighting or flighting. Let's get right into our program. Let's get right into it. There we are. We're going to get right into it. And good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Can you hear me okay? To my co-host, who is all the way in South Carolina. Can you hear
Yes, I
me?
can hear you.
We did some testing before we got on the air, and that's important because we realized last week, in the last 7 days, we had over 1,000 people who either heard our reels or heard our podcasts or viewed us. Thank you for clicking. Even though you are not in our virtual rooms, we realize that you do listen. We're here live. We're going to be talking about fight, flight, and what all that means. We're going to talk about our feelings, and that's what we do here. How hard, Trish, do you have it when it's time to discuss your feelings?
Sometimes it's very hard to discuss my feelings because some emotions I don't feel comfortable sharing.
Okay. And how many of you all feel that way? You're not exactly comfortable with talking about your feelings. We have a direct connect, if you wouldn't mind putting that up as we do every morning. Our Vibe Talk Direct Connect is 661-503-8993. Lines are always open, especially during our program. And we're going to be talking about some situations. Maybe you found yourself in these situations. We're going to talk about it because we realize that sometimes it's just difficult to talk about our feelings. Fight or flight. How do you respond? We will be right back. Thank you for joining us. We're back. Welcome to our program, Vibe Talk Facing the Lion. By the way, you can find us on AMP at Vibe Talk Facing the Lion or Vibe Talk Facing the Lion podcast. AMP, where we are there. Check us out. So, when you're in the car, how many times have you slammed on your brakes when a car has suddenly stopped? Anybody ever experienced that?
Yes, when I'm riding with my dad.
And how does that work for him or you? How do you feel?
It scares the daylights out of me.
Yeah. So would we call that fight or flight or freeze?
I'd say I'm frozen in that moment.
Okay, different response. Yeah. That would probably make me want to run because I always, whenever somebody else is driving, I'm like the person that has the wheel in the passenger seat. And I'm sure people do that with me too. How about this scenario? When you see a growling dog while walking outside, how do you react to that? Mine is always the flight, my response, because I'm scared of dogs, especially the ones I don't know. And that's how my system reacts. How about yours, Trish? And those of you who are listening to us, feel free to call in. And if we're not on live, you can call us and text us all day long your answers. We'd love to hear from you. Tell us where you're from. Go ahead, Trish. What's your response?
I'm taking a flight to the opposite direction. I'm running.
So that's flight. I thought this was so good to talk about in our class that I did just before summer. We talked about the response, and I wish that they would have delved into that more often or in depth, because these are part of our emotions, how we react, how we respond to certain situations. How about this one? You see an oncoming vehicle. What do? Fight, flight, or freeze? What do, Trish?
I freeze.
Freeze. So I see an oncoming car. I definitely would try to get out of the way. We want you to help us. We want you to help us help you. We want you to help us help you. Ready for some more? I love to do this. I know I shouldn't do this, but this is a reveal about me. When my kids were little, I still do it to my grandbaby. And he actually expects it now. Jumping out of a room trying to spook someone. How many of you have ever had that happen?
I have.
You had that happen? How did it make you feel?
My reflexes wanted to hit the person, so that's how I reacted.
Depending on my mood, unexpected surprises. And I'm always the one who does it. Because I get mad if somebody does it to me, and I know that's not fair. Because I didn't expect it. But I love to see the response of other people. So it's a game that I've played with my children even when they were much younger. Much younger. Tell us how you feel. Wednesday Wellness is all about getting well, staying well, and remaining well. How's your well-being? We are going to discuss this in depth. Stay tuned, stay with us as we discuss Vibe Talk facing the lion. We want you to be here for that. We're back. One more. How many times have you felt unsafe while walking down a street? How many times have you felt this?
All the time.
All the time? Ian, can you tell us about that? Why?
Because I'm a stay at home type person, so when I go out, my P's and Q's are always on, and my anxiety is always on level 100 when I go out.
Yeah. What things have you guys felt unsafe about? Today's project is brought to you from Vibe Talk Facing the Lion podcast, where Wednesday Wellness is getting well, staying well, and being well. This is what we're talking about. Response of our emotions, our experience, and our feelings. Three different things. I want to say that again, so pull your chair up a little closer. Being able to experience your emotion, feel what you're feeling and how you're feeling and why you're feeling, and then when you feel it, what is your response? Trish, I think it was you who said something earlier. In fact, I know it was. You said something about being uncomfortable. Sometimes you feel that way in your feelings. That's exactly why we have brought to you guys Vibe Talk Facing the Lions. We do self-checks. We come to you to make it comfortable for you to talk about these feelings. And today's topic is fight, flight, or freeze. You will find and discover things about yourself today. So shall we get together and learn much about us? The fight or flight is your body's natural reaction. And that natural reaction is through hormone and physiological changes that will have you act quickly so that you protect yourself. Protecting yourself is something that we all have. And if we don't, we must learn how to have it. So when you fight, flight, or freeze, I want you to write this down. Fight, fight, or freeze. And maybe you all can do a little map of what some of your fights have been, how you've reacted, what you flee from, and what makes you freeze. I saw a really cute map that I really loved, and I thought that's a really good idea, especially when I'm working with young children, to be able to write. You know, it it helps you to talk about your fears, talk about what's uncomfortable by mapping it out. I saw a stop sign for freeze. Then I saw an airplane that was for flight, and then boxing gloves for fight. So if you want to, let's see how you do your expressions through art. Don't forget, Wednesdays are our expressions through art. And I want to say that we haven't been here. We are here now, aren't we, Trish?
We sure are.
Yeah, we're never too far away. We get busy, and we know that you guys request us. You wonder where we are. I see you. I hear you when you're asking if we're still doing it. We want Vibe Talk to be a household name for you. So, we're going to talk about the things that make us fight, flight, or freeze. So, as you get ready, let's do it together. We're here. And thank you. So, when you respond to something, how many times have you felt your heartbeat get faster and faster? How many of you have experienced that?
I have.
Yes. You want to tell us about it, Trish?
Mostly when my heart rate goes faster, it's when people are arguing. It just makes me feel uncomfortable when people argue. I just think it's going to turn out in the worst case scenario. That's where my mind goes when people argue. So that's why my heart races pretty fast when people argue.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you for that. So we are talking about this. What about this? Because I know if I see a dog running towards me or if I see a dog growling, it heightens my sense of awareness, and sometimes it creates in me to yell and scream. I've done that a lot of times. That, ladies and gentlemen, is your survival instinct. I want to let you in on something. Some of our survival instincts, sometimes we are born without that. Our book on feelings really gets into the in-depthness of responses. If you weren't taught from childhood how to have this survival instinct, then you might find it hard. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you don't want to survive it. It just actually means that you simply don't know how. That's what Vibe Talk is, to help you to know how to survive. You know, when Vibe Talk was started, we simply had people call in, tell us how our stories were relatable. We still want you to do that, but how do you know? How do you know? Some of you have had to survive some of the most heinous things in your life, and you say, I don't know how to survive that. You're still learning how to survive. And we say to you today, let your survival be that one of bravery. Let it be something that you continue to fight for each day in every way. We want you to know that these are real, and also that your pain, your alertness, your awakeness helps you change. Change your wellness into your wellness. We're going to get into this more in depth. We'll be right back. Stay tuned. Stay with us here at Vibe Talk. Yeah, we're back. So, what do you think about this fight, flight conversation piece today, Trish?
It's making me think a lot about how I react to certain things that I'm afraid of. For example, lightning. I'm scared of it. It scares me to death. I can't stand the sound of it, but the irony of that is I don't feel safe with all the noise going on in the house. I rather hear the lightning, and when it stops, it brings me peace, but too much noise with the lightning makes me even more anxious. So
Yeah,
that's my reaction. This whole conversation is making me think about how I react to things that I'm scared of.
yeah. And that's the thing, fear. Remember when we talked about fear, that fear is one of the biggest things that we all are faced with, fear. Everyone that listens is fearful of something. And I want you to think about what it is that makes you fearful, what it is. And make a list with yourself. Things in the past that have made you fearful. things that you are afraid of. A lot of people today, and I talk to so many people, especially in my ministry, that are afraid of the future, what the future will bring. It's really interesting. It's absolutely very interesting. Okay. Sorry about that, guys. We are here. And so when we think about the fears that we have, I want you to be aware of the fear. And we'll be right back to talk about fear. We're going to get right into that. We are going to be right back. Okay. Don't laugh at me, guys. Got a lot of buttons here. So fear. What makes you flight? Because fear is something that we don't want to face. How many of you want to face your fear? Some people do. And what have you faced your fear about? What fears have you faced? That's a Vibe Talk question. Trish, you want to put that in? What fear have you faced? I used to fear abandonment. I used to fear rejection. I no longer fear rejection. I no longer fear abandonment. What about you guys? What is it that you are fearing? Let's get into that. We're going to, without being doctors, talk a little bit about the responses that happen to us. We want to do that because it's going to help you to be able to stay aware. Your natural responses are your brain being responsible for the fear that you feel. Your brain stimulates. Your brain gathers information like an airplane. I won't get on an airplane. Why? Because my brain has gathered enough information without actually experiencing the airplane that my brain has already perceived that it's not going to be a good experience. What about you, Trish? What has your brain made you fear?
It's a lot of things, but the one thing I pick is driving. I am terrified of driving because I am afraid of not knowing what to do, and I am also afraid of hurting somebody because of my eyesight, and that's what my brain stimulates when I think of driving. I'm like, I don't want to hurt people, or I just don't want to put anybody's life in danger while on the road.
Yeah, thank you for that. We talk about real experiences here. If you all can relate, let us know. When you comment in the section, please let us know where you're from so we can say hello to your community. We are here talking about fight or flight. Fight, flight, or freeze is what we're talking about. Heart rate. How many times, and I asked this question earlier, but I'm going to re-ask it, have your heart beat to the point where you feel that your heart rate increases? How many have had your heart rate increase because of your body's response to something? I have. I have.
I have.
I think for me, I had a dream that I was about to board a plane. I woke up and my heart was beating faster than normal. That's a normal reaction. That's a normal reaction. We're going to talk about the physical aspects of it without getting into the medical part, because I in no way am a doctor. I'm a wellness coach. And I thought this is good to talk about because it is Wednesday Wellness, and your well-being is priority. We will be right back. We'll talk about more parts of our body that is affected, because sometimes we think that we are not affected by these things. We'll be right back. Okay, we're back. So we're talking about our body physically, how it responds to fight, flight, or freeze. Lungs, your lungs get more oxygen into your blood when you have the freeze response. And when you have that freeze response, you feel like you can't breathe. How many of you have had that?
I have.
Yeah. Some of us call that hyperventilating. And I don't know about you, but it is the worst feeling when that part of your body feels like your breathing is out of control. It happened to me when my nephew number 2 died unexpectedly. And I remember being in the bathroom and hyperventilating, because what happens is your body is getting more oxygen than you can handle. Yeah. Yeah, those kind of experiences make you feel like you are going to pass out. Think about that, ladies and gentlemen. Now, what else does this affect? Your eyes. Your eyes, your peripheral vision. If you've ever had peripheral vision and you can see, like on the side of you, and you know what's coming, like if somebody were to hit you, you see it coming. How do you react? Um, Talks about your pupils dilating and letting more light in, which helps you to see better. It even affects our ears. Fight, flight, or freeze. When we are alerted to the body's response that there is something in our subconscious, something that we are being faced with, our ears try to listen. Like if I hear a barking dog, I want you to do this experience with me and tell me how you feel about it afterwards. You ready? So you are walking and you hear a dog. Now that dog is nowhere in your sight, but the noise of that dog causes you to do what? What do you think it causes you to do?
Look for it.
Yes! You're going to look for it. And you don't hear it So the people around you, you say, I hear a dog. I'm talking about my own experience. So my ears are alerting me because I don't see it, but I need to hear it. And that sound for some of us can be either far away or nearby. So your ears begin to become sharper. Here's another thing that we've experienced. How many of us have in a car or wherever we're traveling, we hear sirens? We don't see the police, we don't see the ambulance, but the first thing we do is what Trish said. Thank you for that, Trish. We do what again, Trish?
We look for it.
Yeah. Do you know what that's called? Survival. You automatically look for it because you want to get to safety. That's why we do that. We could be dead in the middle of a song and we hear those sirens. We don't see them until we're looking in our mirror and we say, oh, that's what it is. And so we pull over for safety. How many of us have had to do that in our life? Pull over for safety. Anybody? We want to be able to talk about that because some of our pullovers for safety have to do with deeper things, not just a siren, not just the alertness of the noise, but more in depth of our inner feelings. We've had to pull over to be aware, or pause in our response to find out what that noise is. For instance, when your brain starts speaking for you, you ever had a fight with yourself internally and it sounds like this? I'm not good enough. Well, yes, you are good enough. No, but I'm really not. I'm not as good as. But yeah, you are. Remember that time when you did this and you did so well? But yeah, how many of you have had those types of fights with yourselves?
I
Anybody?
have.
Yeah, what was that like for you, Trish?
It was like that with this course that I went through. I had to my brain had a battle. It was discussing, well, you did things like this before. Like you're a co-host of a podcast, it's the same thing. You're just doing it by yourself and you're getting a grade. But a part of me was like, it's not the same thing. Like, I don't know if I can do this. Like, I really don't know. I was battling with myself with this project that I had to do.
Yeah. And one of the three things that we've already talked about, or four things actually, happens to our bodies when we do that. That's why it's so important to pause, to pull over for safety. The next thing is about our blood and what it does with our blood. It increases our blood clotting. We're going through these fight or flight. Here's an interesting thing, though, I found, is that when your body thickens the blood, prepares you. Because when your blood increases, that rush comes because it's preparing you for the ultimate. Do you know how many times a plane has crashed and I've never been on the plane? In my perception, the plane always crashes. And when I hear other people who travel afar, who travel near, that's not the perception they have. But the plane to me always crashes even before I get on it. So imagine this happening with me, preparing my body for injury when the plane. haven't even ridden the plane. How many of you get that?
I do.
Yeah? What do you think about that, Trish? How do you relate to that?
I relate to that because I'm also afraid of getting on a plane because seeing the video of 9/11 it traumatized me. So I'm stuck in the mindset of if I get on the plane 9 times out of 10 or 10 times out of 10, it's gonna happen when I'm on the plane. So I'm not getting on it. And I remember when my brothers, they were going to the Navy base and it was their first time getting on the plane. I never prayed so hard for something because I was scared. I was scared for them, you know. But yeah, I relate to that on so many levels.
Yeah. Ironically, though, that flight, we never take it because, see, if you're like Trish and I, we're afraid of that plane. So we flee it altogether. Isn't that interesting? That ironically, we never take the flight, but yet that's what we do. Yeah, think about that. That's what our body does. It will flee from something. Just like that plane, which is in flight, will hurry in its flight. Now, let's talk more about this. We'll be right back after our commercial break. We're back, and thank you for joining Vibe Talk Facing the Lion podcast. Today is your Wednesday Wellness, all about welling yourself, getting well, being well, and staying well. Here's to you. Our skin. How many of you have ever sweated because you feared something?
I have.
Yeah. Want to talk about it?
I sweat before I go places because I'm scared. I don't have, like I said, I don't drive, so I walk everywhere. And just the fact of walking beside a road where trucks and cars and vehicles pass right by and it's very loud, it like boosts up my anxiety. So I sweat before I go anywhere. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. And myself, thank you for sharing that. Myself, my sister used to say this when we were kids. When you're very afraid of something, your lips turn white. And that actually is a thing because your skin begins to look pale. We've all experienced goosebumps, right? When we're afraid of something or we're told something that just blows our mind, we get goosebumps, right? That's a thing. How many of you have felt that? So she wasn't lying. That really does affect your skin. Also, your hands and your feet, because they're your major muscles. How many of you have had cold feet about something? Met a man that said he had cold feet about something. You get cold feet, uh, your blood flow increases, and all of this affects your muscles. Why is that? Because your perception begins to come into play. Your response to whatever it is that you're dealing with, which may be trauma, which may be trauma, the experience from, or other issues. But I want you to realize there's always an explanation. So the things that we've talked about really does happen. Now, what about overreaction to things? Can we get overreacted? What do you all think about that? What do you think, Trish?
I know I can. I overreact about a lot of things
Yeah.
that that scream danger. If it screams danger, I'm your over exaggerator. I'm your certified overreactor. That's me. I'm going to try to help you reason the fact that there's something that can possibly happen if you do anything daring or dangerous or thrilling. I'm that friend.
Yeah. See, thank you for sharing that. Me, I overreact a lot of times. My kids always say, "Mom, you just overreact about it." It's like you call them, and I'm sure you parents out there can relate to this. When your kid doesn't come home when you expected them, or when you can't get them in the first two calls. It's always two calls for me. If I call and they don't answer, I overreact. Why do I do that? Because my body system says they're dead. They got in an accident. They're injured. Uh, you know, my brain goes crazy. So there is a thing of overreaction. How many of you have overreacted to something? And if so, tell us about it in the comment. Don't forget to include where you're from. Thank you so much. Trauma. All of us have had something traumatic happen. I want you to pull your chair up a lot closer to me. Did you hear what I said? All of us have had trauma happen to us. There is not one person alive has had not an ounce of trauma. But with that being spoken, there's a way that we can deal with traumatic experiences. Sometimes our stress response is different. Trisha and I just gave you a very in-depth look at our responses to things. Some were very similar, or some may be different. When you think of trauma, it's usually a reoccurring pattern. Your mind can go back to the trauma at any time of the day or night. How many of you have had that happen to you? I have. When something traumatic has happened, and it could be years, months, days, and it's happened. Years, months, or days, you could have a perfectly good day, and your brain goes back to that event. What do you do? Some people even have post traumatic experience. We're going to get into that in just one moment. Stay tuned with us. Today is Wednesday Wellness, and it's all about our wellness journey, getting well, being well, and staying well. We're talking about trauma. What kind of trauma? Um, Physical, sexual assaults. Now we're getting into the part of things that may be uncomfortable for you and I to talk about. When we experience past traumas, you know, sometimes people are traumatized and don't even realize it because, again, it's about being emotionally intelligent, knowing how to place your feelings with certain things. There are some of you that have been physically assaulted, sexually assaulted, emotionally abused. Some of you have experienced accidents, while others of you have been in the accidents. Natural disasters. Let's talk about that because, and I think this is important because natural disasters, maybe you have not experienced it, but you see on the news. We had right in Vibe Talk people that experience natural disasters. Let our minds go back there when you had the hurricane, Trish, the natural disaster, that experience. Do you remember that?
How could I forget?
Yeah. What were you feeling and thinking during that time?
I was actually in shock because where I'm from, yeah, we have thunderstorms and things like that, but to have a serious hurricane was big for our town, and it was big for my family because we never experienced things like that. So it was a state of shock at first until it hit reality that we have to go to some sort of shelter or safe haven because we're in the storm now. So it was a lot. I was afraid. I was terrified because I didn't know if we are gonna come back and our house was still gonna be there. It makes me emotional thinking about it because I was excited that our house was still there. It had some damages, but it was still there. I just thank God that we survived that experience.
Mm-hmm. Stress can be caused by the trauma or traumatic events that you experience. Here in California, we either have floods or fires. Floods or fires. If you're talking about fires, it affects California, and we just had in California fires burned thousands of acres just over the hill from me. So you think about those kind of things happening in your life, and you think about, wow, this really happens. And so that's a reason for fear. We're talking about fight, flight, or fear. You know, Trish talked about in the hurricane. What was that hurricane name, Trish? Do you remember?
Ian,
Ian, yes. Hurricane Ian hit, and many people had to evacuate their homes, flights. The body system, when you think about fleeing somewhere, you ask yourself questions: where are we to go? A lot of people don't leave their homes because of fear, but that's when we have to pull over to safety, to be able to be aware of what is going on. We must react swiftly. So, if you've experienced any kind of trauma, such as the ones we mentioned, even childhood trauma still affects us in our adult life. Childhood trauma. And what I always say is that even the most perfect home, someone has experienced trauma. You talk to enough people, they will tell you their story. But how do you respond? How are you responding? Let's say, and God forbid that no one gets in an accident today, but that you are fresh from an accident, and that car accident leaves you traumatized because that is something truly that makes you respond. You have fear, and now you hear a sound of a car horn. What will it remind you of? The same as I hear a barking dog. You know, it's a funny story, but it's very true that I was bitten by our own family dog. I was so afraid of dogs that I really thought the dog was trying to attack me, when in reality, the dog was doing nothing more but wanting to play. And because of my response, and that's a good example, because of my response to the dog, well, guess what happened? The dog started being skittish, and that's how I got bit. Because the dog doesn't know, but that was the animal's reaction to the human reaction. Anxiety. We'll be right back. We're going to talk about this when we come back. Stay tuned. Stay with us here at Vibe Talk Facing the Lion podcast. We're glad you're here with us today. We're glad you're here with us today on this Wednesday Wellness. We're talking about fight, flight, or freeze. Anxiety. Anxiety stems from being afraid or nervous about something. If you have ever had those feelings of anxiety, think about what causes anxiety and how you can stress manage anxiety. You know, many of us worry. Trish, you and I talked. You talked about your school and the stress. You did your paper, and what resulted from that paper that you felt anxiety over?
I actually got a perfect score of 100.
Yeah, congratulations. Congratulations.
Thank you.
You know, anxiety sometimes is brought on in real time or exaggerated. You know, the thing that I said about fearing that something would happen to my kids, I have that anxiety, and it's getting better. Not that I don't worry about my grown kids. You know, the anxiety of worrying, are they going to get through the day okay? And at night, they're fine. And so with that, we just have to achieve a balanced sense of ourselves and to know that we will have some type of worrying in our lives, but that these worries can make us feel threatened. Threatened. We do that to ourselves. We feel threatened because we don't know what to do with our anxiety. Have you ever felt that way, ladies and gentlemen?
Yes. I actually passed out from that experience.
Yeah. And so what was it like for you?
It was a lot. It was so overwhelming because first I was so confused. I didn't know what to do in the situation. And that's already a big fear of mine, uncertainty. I don't know what to do in that situation, what's going to happen. So all that just cramped into overwhelmingness, and I ended up passing out before I even knew it. Like, it was so unexpected.
Yeah. Yeah. And so as you feel that, getting a hold of your mind body system, and that's, I want to just let you know that it's not it's not something that happens overnight for us. We have to learn to get control of the things that we can manage. Like with me thinking that something always happened to my kids because they didn't answer their cell phone. Maybe it is the rationalization of it is maybe they're driving and they can't pick up. I have to start thinking that way because we just saw what happens in our body. When we think about that, if you all are listening, then we're going to have some things that we can actually do. We can actually do to protect our own self from these things because we realize that they're real. And what a life and wellness coach does is help myself and then help you to be able to cope and manage. Um, you hear us from time to time. If you've ever listened to Vibe Talk, you've heard us do the breathing exercises. Why do we do the breathing exercises? Because the breathing is able to help you calm down from whatever it is that you're dealing with. We do that from time to time. And the reason I do it from time to time is so that you can remember that even though you're going through it, you will get through it. You will come through. And so the breathing. How about calming words? Have you ever talked to someone very calmly and meant it? You were not clenched teeth, clenched fist, because some of us, when we're being calm, we have to ask ourselves, am I really calm? It's like if someone is screeching the chalkboard that they used back in the day. You say, would you please stop doing that? Are you really calm? Or if they keep doing something to the effect of you not liking it, you have to say it with clenched fist and clenched teeth. Remember the thing that I said about clenching your fist? Clench it as hard as you can. Who did we learn that it hurt the most? Remember that?
I remember that.
Who did it hurt the most when you clench your fist? Do you feel anything from it, Trish?
Yeah, I remember my hand got cramped. I hurt myself.
Yeah, you hurt yourself. So when we're not in a calm manner, we hurt ourselves, and that's why calmness, when you're really agitated, and this is a really good one for me, uh, because I need to manage the anger that I was feeling, and I'm doing better with that. I'm learning to talk it out without a frown in my face, clenched teeth, or clenched hands. I'm learning to be able to calm myself down. How many of us have been here when we've experienced the peaceful images? You remember that one, Trish? Yeah. We're going to say something?
Oh, I was gonna ask, can you repeat that?
When we think about peaceful images, we put ourselves in that peaceful place. How many of us remember that one when we did that as a technique?
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah. How did it make you feel?
It took me to a very peaceful place, actually. I felt very peaceful because I remember my imagination. It was at my old house, my childhood house, in the our backyard. So it was a very peaceful place.
And that's what we have to do. We say, Miss Nisi, I'm having this stress. Even for me, guys, I'm doing it as well. Um, Meditation, a lot of people use that word meditation to mean to empty your thoughts. I want to awaken you to an awareness. We're going to be right back. We always have to take commercial breaks, and I thank uh, my co-host for such a beautiful things that she's given me to use for this program. We'll be right back. We're back. Meditation. People use that as emptying out your thoughts. I don't want you to empty out your thoughts. Please know this. I want you to think about your thoughts, give you something to think about, and giving you the power, brain power and hand power to be able to change your thoughts. Change them into something that puts you at your best, gets you at your best. Because we just saw how the blood, how our physical parts of our bodies, because of the response to fight, flight, or freeze, affects us. And you have to be the judge of that. We want you to be your own judge, just to kind of jot down some things, if you've got a device, jot down a note or two, because we talk about so much. We talk about so much. And what I want you to be able to do is to improve yourself. Improve yourself. I want you to decrease stresses in your life. Some people say, well, I'm going to get away from stress. Well, we don't want you to flee from stress, because certain stresses are doable. We tell our kids, fix it. Well, how do they fix it if we can't fix it? So we want you to have some type of stress. And what do I mean about some type of stress that we shouldn't fly? You've got to be at work at 8 o'clock. Don't be stressed out. Just get there. Just get there. That's what we want you to do, is get to the source of the situation. And as you get to the source of the situation, we want you to be able to manage that situation. Schoolwork may be stressful, but if you get it done in the amount of time that is allotted for you, and not on the very last day, less stress. Express. If you're on a crowded freeway, we don't want you to have road rage. We want you to simply, and my oldest son used to say this so many times, no stress express. So what did I remedy? Music that calms me. Because you can do nothing about the freeways, especially here in California. So how does it better you? Well, it's going to help your mood. It's going to help you to heighten your sense of relaxation, and you're going to be able to cope with your stress. So, social support. Well, what's your circle looking like? What does your circle look like? Your social support. Some say family, vibe talk, friends, work, relatives, your significant other. These are all social support. We always ask you to reach out. Reach out. We want you when you're feeling not, not your best well self to keep working on your wellness. When's the time to do that? And Trish, you can put up the suicide crisis hotline, that number, because that's important. And we are promoting that because we may not answer the phone. Doesn't mean we're not here. Doesn't mean that we're not available. That's why we say to you, leave us a message. We are able to be accessed. Leave us a text message. But most of all, take advantage of the mental health, because mental health awareness is very important. When you're feeling on the edge, when you have persistent worry, persistent fears, if your stress level is so out of control that it starts interfering with the you that you can be, being the best that you can be. Fear of non-threatening situations. I used to be where I would not go outside. I would sit at my home. Now you can't get me to stay home. Even on the days that I have off, I've worked the last 3 days. I'm tired, but you can't get me to stay at home. So you see how that's transformed me, and look where I am today, hosting a podcast along with my beautiful co-host. Your inability to relax, where you're just having this problem all the time. The last 2 nights I haven't been able to sleep good. But when you're not sleeping good, do you know why? Being emotionally and mentally intelligent. Don't be afraid to reach out and reach up. Our number here is 661-503-8993. Text us. If we don't get to you, we will get to you. Always remember that. I want you to think about your body, your being, because you live in your house environment. I want you to think about that. And I want you to think about what you are enabling yourself to do. You are trying to really go into survival mode. Survival mode. Your trauma and your anxieties are a real thing. We want you to be able to develop and grow into welling yourself. Get well, stay well, and be well. I'm going to turn it over to Trish for Trish's Treasures, but we'll be right back. We're going to take a second break. We'll be right back. We're back, and our program today has been Fight, Flight, or Freeze. You are with Live Talk Facing the Lion podcast. Trish?
There is fear, there's stress, but there is also comfort and calmness and a sort of peace and relaxation that you can find in the midst of fear and stress. And what you do about it is important as well. Our bodies are made to survive from certain situations because of the thrill of living. Survival means you want to live. It means you want to keep going. So when you fight because you are courageous. not just because you are afraid, but fight because you are courageous, and you know that if you fight this battle that you are fighting, whether it's depression or stress or life problems that you are going through right now, you can win. And Vibe Talk, we try to encourage others of their abilities to win. But as we do say in here, it starts with you. You have to believe that you can win and that you can make it. So learn to face your fears. It's not an overnight thing because I'm still working on mine. That's the reality. That's the reality of it. I'm still working on mine. It's not a overnight thing. Take your time. Have patience with yourself because I struggle with that. I always tell myself, hurry up. You have to get this done. You have to work on this so you can be the best you can be. Like you're holding yourself back. I always tell myself that. But I have to find patience within me when I'm healing, when I'm working on myself, and when I'm trying to do little things like projects and songs. I have to be patient with me, knowing that everything is a process. Walk through your process, and soon you'll run through it in the most healthy, advanced way with endurance and diligence to your success, to the best person and the best version of yourself.
Thank you for that. Very powerful. Last but not least, on this Wednesday Wellness, this is your journey, as Trish's treasures have helped us to appreciate. None of us are too big for ourselves or too small for ourselves to not fit in the wellness category. We all can work on wellness. In fact, we do that every day subconsciously, working on wellness as we alert ourselves to awareness. We alert ourselves to better be able to describe what's really going on inside of us. So, as we ask the last question of the day, I want to ask you, are you fighting, flighting, or freezing? Which one are you? Today's question is, what have you learned and discovered in this podcast today? And how does it make you feel? Trish?
I've learned that in certain situations, I should not take a flight and walk away from it. I should face it because, as we discussed in here, that some stress is not meant to be put off. It is meant to face because you can handle it. And I need to learn to work on not having the first instinct to run away from a situation, to face it head on. And I know that will build my ability to face things that I am afraid of. My experience in here today was triggering because fear is a touchy topic for me because I fear a lot of things. That's why I don't move so quickly in working on me and doing things for me because I'm scared, but I need to embrace my strength and learn to survive, not only survive but live my life.
Love that. Thank you so much. For me, it helps me to be awakened to awareness of not putting my fears off on others, like my kids, and I can see where I do that. Since I'm so afraid to fly, I don't want them to do it. But they're both adventurous. Both my sons are very adventurous, and I want them to be the best people that they can be and not fear some of the things I fear. Because I haven't had the experience, I have built up enough knowledge where I say, no, I don't want to do that. That's scary. But maybe they want to fly. It's like when we go to Magic Mountain. Uh, they will get on all the rides. Me, I'm going into Kittyland. And they always laugh at me because it's like, Mom, you spent your money and you're just over here. But we want to know that some fear is healthy. We'll talk about that on another podcast, but there are some fears that are very healthy, like not going out in the dark of night at 12 o'clock midnight by yourself. That's a healthy fear. So we're going to get into that, but that'll be on a later podcast. Um, what it's helped me to understand too is be aware of why I fear certain things and being able to talk about that, even if it is a traumatic experience for me. Talk about it. Don't give up talking, ladies and gentlemen. I want to remind you of our Wednesday art through expression. If you need me to repeat what you can do, you can make a poster, a fight, flight, or fear, what that looks like to you. And answering our Vibe Talk question, what fear have you faced? And know that Wednesday Wellness is all about your journey. I'm so happy to be back here with my co-host. She's been so patient with me. By the way, Trish, I have seen your new thing that you did, your reel that you did for Vibe Talk. I posted it to my personal page. I love it. Thank you so much. For those of you who think that we are a thing of the past, we are the thing of the future. We're getting people to access themselves, to become well, all of your endeavors. Thank you for joining my amazing co-host, Trish. Thank you so much. And I want to say thank you to all of you who listen to us. By the way, we do have YouTube. We're going to be going live on YouTube. Trish is always the moderator and the person that handles all of our videos. We thank you for your hard work. Even on some things that she does for me when we're not on screen. You may also get with me on a one-on-one virtually. You can be anywhere or there, everywhere, and just have your Facebook video or your Zoom or whatever you use, because it's all virtual. And we never ask for money. If you'd like to give us some, we're not going to refuse it. But it's all here for you. Thank you, everybody. I wish you more wellness. Thank you for joining us today. And we're going to have a short meeting right after Vibe Talk. Don't forget, we're on AMP. Find us. You can call into that too. A lot of times we're not going to be live. This will be recorded on AMP. And just know that we're here. Trish, you've made me aware of some things. Gosh, I didn't know that. I knew we were online, but we've done our work, haven't we, Trish?
Yes, we have.
Yeah, and I'm so proud that you're part of it. You want to get with Vibe Talk, Facing the Lions, to talk about your feelings. Be a lion. Don't cower. Be brave. Thank you for joining my co-host and myself. We'll see you next time on Vibe Talk, Facing Lions. Facing the Lion. If you have any questions or comments about today, you can always leave your comments on our Facebook page. We do have our own Facebook page right here, on our Instagram page, and or text and voicemail. We'd love to hear from you. Don't forget to tell us where you're from. We love to find out what states and cities that you guys are representing. Trish, do you have anything you want to say?
I just want to say thank you for y'all support. I really appreciate it. This is hard work. It's not easy, but on as we are hardworking on here, we encourage you to be hardworking and persistent with yourselves as well and your wellness. So I hope you continue to work in your wellness.
Thank you so much. One last thing, we want you to know that our last reel, we got over 1,000 views. Thank you for that. Go check it out. It's on our Vibe Talk Reels. Trish, if you would put that in the comments. We want to make it easy for you. Check out our Vibe Talk Reels. Check them out. Get inspired. If you have any ideas, let us know. We want to help you. Don't forget to reach up, reach out. Thank you for joining us. Get well, stay well, and be well. Bye for now. Vibe Talk Facing the Lion Reel. Thank you.